Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, it is finally that time. The Washington Commanders preview for the 2023 season is here, and we're starting with the very first preseason game as the Washington Commanders head up to First Energy Stadium to take on the Cleveland Browns. I have a very special guest with me, Pedro Schmith, joining to discuss the Washington Commanders versus Cleveland Browns. Let's talk about it.
After 20 years, we back on. No more Snyder, more McLaurin. One full with the passion, we scoring. FedEx field back lit, no it is not boring. John Allen lead the troops, we storming. Burgundy and gold in my veins, I bleed that. St. Jude saw the ball, grab a pig, I need that.
YouTube, what's going on? It's Juan Gotti here. We have the Washington Commanders video, and in today's video, I'm coming on here with the very first preview video of the season as the Washington Commanders travel to Cleveland to play in the first preseason game. I have a very special guest with me, Pedro Schmidt, joining to go over it. How you doing, Pedro? Appreciate you for joining me today.
Yeah, I'm okay, a little bit sick, but hey, happy to talk about some Commanders football. Excited for the preseason game tomorrow. Excited to see these young guys play tomorrow.
Yeah, man. Again, shout out to Pedro for pulling it through, man. Currently on the injured list, man. But he's pulling it through. He was questionable coming into today's performance, but he's here, thugging it out with me. So I appreciate you, man. Yeah, and as you mentioned, tomorrow is go time, man. It's the preseason, and I would argue this is probably the most exciting game for us because we haven't seen them play. The most important game for like the back end of the roster is probably maybe like the last one or something like that. But as far as us and fans and excitement, year 2 of Washington Commanders, Eric Bieniemy, Josh Hurd, Sam Howell, this is the most exciting one for us. Would you agree with that, or do you feel different?
Yeah, I'm really excited for this preseason game. And yeah, the third game will probably be more for the back end of the roster guys. The starters might not even play, especially after practicing against the Ravens those 2 days with the joint practice. So yeah, this is a big game for Howell, for everyone. And, the Browns are going to be starting a lot of their main guys, so it should be a good one.
Yeah, and you mentioned that. Let's go straight into it. So the Cleveland Browns are actually going to be starting Deshaun Watson and potentially Amari Cooper and most of their starters. What are you looking for with the Washington Commanders going up against their one? So I guess we'll start with our defense.
Defensively, if Nick Chubb's playing, just keep their own game in check, which I think we should be able to do with our D-line out there. And then besides that, if Forbes is playing, I would love to see him against Amari Cooper. And is Donovan Peoples-Jones, is he still on the team?
That I believe so, but honestly, I don't know too much about the Browns.
If he's on the team, whatever. Just see our corners play. I'm excited for our secondary. We know that, Forrest and Curl are good. Definitely Curl. Forrest, we got to see another season, but I'm excited for him. But, honestly, a lot of these starters, I'm good if they play on the defensive side. I'm good if they play one or two possessions the whole preseason because, do I need to see Jonathan Allen play, Montez Sweat, Deron Payne? I don't really need to see those guys play. Kendall Fuller, Benjamin St. Juice. Don't need to see Benjamin St. Juice, get hurt or anything. Don't need to see Kendall Fuller, Cam Curl. 90% of the starters I don't need to see play. I would probably want to see Chase Young just get a couple more reps there, get his knee in place. Or not get his knee in place, but you know what I mean? Get that rust off a little bit. He's able to do that at the end of last year. But if he's able to get a couple more, possessions in and, just get that rust off, I think that would be really good for him. And then Jamin Davis as well, he missed one or two practices because of the hearing he has. He also missed OTAs and minicamp, I believe, because of the procedure. And he's still young and raw, so need to get him some, more snaps as well, but not necessary. And besides that, the starters, that's really the only guys I need to see. But I'm pretty sure we're going to see all the starters get a possession or two.
Yeah, I definitely feel as though the Washington Commanders should put their starters out there for maybe a possession or two, especially, you mentioned Jamin Davis, but I want to talk about the other linebacker, Cody Barr. He's supposed to be this middle linebacker for us moving forward, the new middle linebacker. And how I felt about Cole Holcomb. I know a lot of people was like, "Oh, Cole is injury prone. He doesn't stay healthy." But for what he got signed by the Steelers, it kind of pissed me off because like we couldn't do that. And then also Cole, yeah, he has a lot of injury problems, but he was really good, man. And on top of that, he was a true Washington player. Like he hated Dallas, and he was a hard nosed guy. So I kind of have a high expectation for Cody Barton. Like I honestly, I'm gonna be the toughest on him, to be honest, because he's replacing Cole Holcomb in a sense. So Cody Barton is a guy that I'm gonna be paying a lot of attention to. Yeah, Jamie Davis, but mostly the young guys, Emmanuel Forbes if he plays, Quan Martin, Percy Butler. A lot of people believe that Percy Butler could have a big leap, like a Defoe type leap this year. So Percy Butler, and then what about KJ Henry? The pass rushing. I want to see what KJ Henry can do because again, all these guys on our defensive line are on practically 1-year deals. He is the only one. Correct me if I'm wrong. The only one that is under contract for past this year. So I'm excited to see because what if KJ Henry could replace one of these guys that we potentially lose in free agency? You never know. And then also, what about John Ridgway? I know John Ridgway made a terrible first impression on a lot of people, including myself, because of the Vikings game. I wouldn't necessarily say he cost us the game, but he cost us an opportunity to get back into that game. But ever since then, I love John Ridgway now, man. Like, I want to see what he can do. Can he genuinely be some solid depth behind Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen? What about Fedarian Mathis? He practically is going into his first year. Yeah, last year was technically his rookie year, but this is technically his first actual season because he got hurt in the very first game of last season. So that's some of the things that I'm looking for. As far as goals, stopping the run, I really don't care necessarily about that because again, it's preseason, but I know how our fan base is, Pedro. If the defense goes out there and gets shredded or they allow some runs, this defense is terrible, fire Jack Del Rio, a lot of the overreaction is going to start happening. But I'll be honest, me personally, I don't care if Deshaun Watson goes out there and throws for 2 touchdowns and whatever against our first team defense. Like obviously I'll be like, oh wow, but again, I don't care too much. How do you feel about that? Because I know you mentioned like stop the run and stuff like that, but like if it doesn't happen, if Nick Chubb is being Nick Chubb, would you be concerned?
I mean, I guess I would be a little bit concerned, but I don't think it matters too much at the end of the day. I mean, the Commanders got shredded last year in the preseason. I think if I remember correctly, in some of these games, especially the secondary, but they ended up being fine. I guess for the first few weeks they weren't until they got the bum William Jackson third out of here. I mean, that guy, don't want to talk about him too much, but he was awful for us. But yeah, I think. Would I be a little bit concerned? Yeah, but I mean, I don't think it would be a huge deal if it's just one preseason game. And I mean, it's really going to be one quarter, maybe one half at the max. Like, I know Rivera is going to end up wanting to play the starters, but I really don't think the defensive starters need to play much, but maybe just out of respect for the other team so that they can get some reps in. I think they'll play the starters a little bit. But again, Allen, Payne, Montez, like I don't need to see them play. But in terms of like you talk about some guys you're excited for, I'll go ahead and talk about that. May or may not make a video on that. I saw you did, but some guys I'm excited. Obviously, Howell want to see how he can play. He played pretty well in the preseason last year, but again, that was against the 3. So let's see what he can do this year against the 1s. Want to see his running ability, his connection with Diami, Terry, and Jahan, and Curtis as well. I think one thing, this is maybe not a discussion for now, but just like Curtis, who knows like what his role is going to be on this team? Like it could be less than it was last year. And Diami could be more. But some other guys I'm excited to see. I'm trying to think on offense. Chris Paul, I want to see how he looks, and / Mason Brooks, him as well. See how those guys look. Both young guards that have some potential. They both were very late picks, but they have shown some promise. I'm excited to see Diami, how he looks in this offense and with Sam Howell. So those are kind of some guys. Cole Turner as well. Excited to see him, Chris Rodriguez as well, see how he looks. And, guy really, Eric Bieniemy likes. And I know you weren't happy after seeing the depth chart and seeing Jarrett Patterson was the last running back. He was behind Derek Gore. I know you're upset about it. I was like, I haven't talked about it in the video. It was disrespectful. I don't think after that, and I know the depth chart isn't necessarily made by the coaches. A lot of time it could have been, but probably not. I just think there's zero chance Patterson makes the roster now because if you think about it, they're going to keep Robinson, Gibson, Rodriguez over him, 100 out of 100 times. Rivera clearly likes Jonathan Williams more than him because he got way more snaps than him last year. And even in the last game of the season, Reggie Bonifant got more carries than Jarrett Patterson. So this staff doesn't like him. It seems like they don't like him. And then I don't know if Bieniemy does. So for me, I know this is a little bit tangent. I hope Patterson gets reps in this preseason and shows out. And I don't think he'll do well enough to make a team, but I hope, because I think the Commanders would offer him a practice squad spot back. As much as I would like for him to be back and be on this team because he is a DMV guy, I hope he gets another practice squad spot and goes somewhere else where he gets a chance to maybe climb up the ranks because I don't think he's doing it in Washington with this staff.
Yeah, you alluded to Jared Patterson, man. That guy deserves an opportunity. Like that's disrespectful. I didn't even know that he was on the last roster spot. Derek Gore just had a fumble in the training camp, and he's literally only here because he knows Eric Bieniemy's system. If like, man, Jared Patterson deserves an opportunity, and I agree. I hope he shows out in the snaps that he gets, and he signs with another team, and they give him an opportunity because he can play at this level. He literally showed every time he gets an opportunity. Have you ever seen a negative Jared Patterson play?
I mean, I can't remember. I mean, the thing is, he hasn't gotten a lot of plays, but like, is he elite? No, but like, I don't know. I think he can be a contributor, like a third or fourth back on some teams. Maybe not here, but like, he's shown some good things in the league, and I don't think again he's going to be great anywhere. But I think he just not marriage, but like it's just over here because like once Reggie Bonifant in that Cowboys game was getting carries over Jared Patterson, that's when I knew like this guy isn't like Rivera's best friend.
Yeah.
Rivera doesn't like this guy, and I know Rivera doesn't have all the decisions in terms of who plays on offense, but like that was just the end of the line for me.
Yeah, and I mean, and did you go back to that preseason last year? Bonifant, he got curries over Jared Patterson in the preseason, way more. So yeah, let's switch now more to the offense. I'm glad you started that point with Jared Patterson. The offense. We talked about the defense and what we want to see, and like the players that we're excited to talk about, and we'll probably double back again. But offense side of the ball, obviously we're excited to see Sam Howell, right? But let's start there. If Sam Howell, are you the same way with the offense? If Sam Howell goes out there and he lights it up, are you gonna overreact and like crown him QB1? Or if he goes out there and plays, meh, and he maybe has an interception or showing rookie second year mistakes, but technically a rookie because he only played in one game last year, are you gonna overreact or what would your also reaction be to do you think the fans are going to overreact to along with yourself?
For me, it's kind of like, okay, if he looks absolutely amazing, like let's say he plays 2 or 3 possessions, he goes 11 for 12 and has I don't know, 200 passing or 180 passing yards and 2 touchdowns and I don't know, 30 rushing yards, and he looks amazing, then I'll be like, okay, this guy could be something special this year. Not necessarily special, but like this guy could be solid for us this year. Then I think that would be warranted to like not overreact, but like take some stock into it. Because if you're looking that good against the starters, okay, that is definitely something to like. You can't just say that's the preseason. Like if he's looking that good, like that's definitely stock up for him. But also in the reverse, if he looks really bad, like 2 possessions, the offense gets like maybe 2 or 3 first downs, but it's like mostly running, like runs by, Gibson or Robinson. He throws a bad interception, takes a lot of sacks. Then it's like, okay, am I going to say there's no chance he's going to be good this year? No, but at the same time, I'm going to be like, okay, my feelings are changing a bit. But if he goes out there and plays pretty well or, below average, then it's going to be okay. This is one preseason game. It is what it is. But if it's either of the extremes, I think that could definitely sway my expectations for him this year.
Yeah, I mean, again, for me personally, I said it in my video. I said I don't care if Sam Howell, throws a touchdown or two. It will be great. But first of all, we don't even know if he's gonna be in for that long. Like if he goes down with this offense, goes right down the field and scores an opening drive touchdown, they're probably gonna pull the offense right after that, right? So I'm not caring if Sam Howell goes out there and throws a touchdown or two. I just want to see the little things. I want to see the fundamental things. How fast are we spitting out the play? How fast are we getting the snap off? Are we having clock issues where we're inside the 5 and we still haven't came out of the huddle? The little things like that. What is his passes looking like? Are they accurate? Do they have enough air on the ball? Is he overthrowing guys? Are guys getting open? Is he making the right read? Is he seeing the edge rusher come unblocked to his left side? Is he stepping up in the pocket? Is he taking the check down that's right there? I know you want the 30-yard play, but are you taking the safe play, or are you taking the chances that excites the crowd? I just want to see the fundamental things and from Sam Howell, not only in this game, but this whole preseason. How does he fare with going up against the Browns once? I don't know if Myles Garrett is playing. I probably put my money on him not playing, but he could potentially play. But they got Zadarius Smith, edge rushers, and they got a solid secondary. How is he looking against the ones? Is he able to hold his own? That's really what I'm looking from for Sam Howell, opposed to filling up the stats. Because who cares about stats in August? That's when we care about the stats in September. Honestly, so yeah,
Yeah, I agree with you. Like I was just saying in general, like if he looks really, really good, not just the stats, but like the eye test too, then I think that'll change my expectations. And if he looks really, really bad as well, that'll change my expectations. If he's, inaccurate, making poor decisions, getting sacked a ton, maybe a couple interceptions or dropped interceptions or throws he shouldn't make, then that's going to be, lowering my expectations for him for sure.
Yeah,
And I want Myles Garrett to play, by the way. Like I want Sam Howell to get the best test he can get. So the Browns defense is pretty good. They got Garrett, Schmith, like you said. I think they got Shelby Harris they just signed. They got another D tackle there as well. So like I want them to go up against their O-line and make things tough for Sam Howell. And like I wanted to see how this O-line fares against that D-line and how Sam Howell fares against a D-line that is like just killing our O-line. Let's see what he does. So yeah, excited for that.
Yeah, and now moving to other offensive weapons. What are some guys on the offensive side of the ball besides Sam Howell that are like intriguing? Like obviously Terry and Curtis, but I don't even care for them to play much because I know what they can do. I know what Jahan Dawes could do. I think like guys like De'Ami Brown, this is the time to shine. Guys like Cole Turner are this is their time to shine. What weapons are you looking forward to seeing tomorrow? And do you feel like have opportunity to actually show some type of promise and make this roster?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, De'Ami's probably my top guy. Then Cole Turner as well. And then after that, I mean, the undrafted free agents, like I'm looking for one of those guys to step up, whether it's Mitchell Tinsley, Casimir Allen, Bryson Tremaine, one of those guys to step up. And then other playmakers, I mean, Chris Rodriguez as well. I want to see what he looks like. And I want to see what Gibson looks like in this offense. Like it seems like every year we talk about him being used more in the passing game, but it never happens. So let's see what happens this year.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Mitchell Tinsley. Made a video on him, and I think he has the opportunity to really add value to this wide receiving core. I mean, he's been consistently running with the twos, so that says a lot coming from an undrafted guy. And how they view him. I wonder if he can play some special teams. I believe so. Could that be his way onto this roster? Because we talked about Casimir Allen making this roster, but he hasn't. I heard he hasn't like wowed people away with the special teams ability in training camp as far as him, as far as what he's done. And his wide receiving ability, I felt like what he could provide as a slot guy or, a Swiss Army knife was going to help him make this roster. But I think maybe Mitchell Tinsley could make it over him, honestly. But then you look at some other offensive things. You talked about Chris Paul, Mason Brooks, and Sadiq Charles. That is probably the biggest battle that I'm honestly looking at is that left guard spot between Sadiq Charles and Chris Paul. How do you feel about it, Pedro? Because I honestly feel like Chris Paul has an opportunity to shut the door close onto Sadiq Charles, because Sadiq Charles, he obviously is again talented, but he had minor injury, that gave Chris Paul the opportunity to go out there and actually be good, and not be good, but more so had the opportunities rather over Sadiq Charles because he wasn't available. So how do you feel about that? Do you think it's still a neck and neck battle, or do you think Chris Paul holds the opportunity to go out there and if he has an amazing performance, shut the door close?
I think it's still a neck and neck battle just because like Sadiq did enter this off season as the starter. So I mean, it was always going to be a battle, but I think it's still neck and neck. It will just depend on his health, Chris Paul's health, and how they play in the preseason. But in terms of how I feel about the left guard spot, don't feel good about it at all. Just because maybe Chris Paul will be good, but like we're depending on a fourth round guy that this is his fourth year in the league, has been had a ton of injuries, and when he has played, hasn't looked good, and a second year seventh round pick who played one game last year. So I don't feel good about the position. I think Chris Paul can be good. Same thing with Sadiq, but I don't feel good about the position. I think you need to add a veteran. I don't feel good about this offensive line. Like, if you look at the backups, our backup right tackle is Trent Scott. I guess our fourth tackle is Trent Scott after, Wiley, Leno, and Lucas. You got Trent Scott. Like, sorry, but like, no, that like I don't feel good about that. And then guard, like you got what? Braden Daniels, I guess he's a tackle / guard. You got Mason Brooks, Chris Paul / Sadiq Charles. Who knows who's going to be the backup there? I don't feel, and I guess Ricky Stromberg. Like, I don't feel good about this. Like the backups on this team, or a lot of the starters. Besides like Larson, I think he's a good backup, and Cornelius Lucas. Like it is looking rough a little bit. Like this line could be like the reason our offense doesn't do well, and possibly the reason Howell doesn't develop into the player we want. Which I think, we could look back at it and be like, okay, that was a mistake, not signing maybe a veteran guard. Like, I forgot the guy's name, or I forgot how to pronounce the guy's name, Isaac Samalu or whatever, the guy from the Eagles that signed with the Steelers for pretty cheap. Like, could have gotten that guy or other guys as well. I think that could be something we look back on and regret. I might make a video on that. We will see.
Yeah, honestly, Pedro, I actually think this offensive line is much better than like what most people think. Like, obviously, they're definitely they are unknown at the moment as far as like we don't know what to expect. But when you look at the offensive line as a whole, the right side is good. I'm fine with Cosme. If he can stay healthy, I think he could be a hell of a guard. I like Andrew Wiley. He's a Super Bowl champion, and he's coming with EB, so he knows EB's system. Center, I want Ricky Stromberg to play, but if Nick Gates has to play, I'm fine with it if he's good. If he's healthy, that's the biggest thing. But the left side you talk about it, that's where the concern sets in. Charles Leno, again, he's not terrible to me, but I would like to upgrade over Charles Leno. I would have been like to move on from Charles Leno, but we're still staying with him. So I think he's average. The guard spot is concerning, but I think the talent there is not the problem. It's just finding out who's going to be available. That's the biggest thing with Chris Paul and Sadiq Charles. Chris Paul has the opportunity of a lifetime because he's still kind of a baby. We don't know what he can do. We don't know if he has an injury history. We don't know if he is if availability is not his best ability like it is for Sadiq Charles. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not high on this offensive line, but I think it's better than what a lot of people are questioning it to be, because we can't be no worse than last year. And I know the floor is set pretty low for last year, but you look at, we made a huge mistake getting those two old guards and Trey Turner and Andrew Norwell. So I think us replacing them with more young, elusive and quick and athletic guards, we're good. The tackle position, I'm not too concerned about. Like, Leno was bad last year, but like, it's like, he's okay. I want better, but what can we do about it now? You know what I'm saying? So I am definitely interested to see how this offensive line looks. I would be a little bit concerned if they do go out there and they are getting work, but at the same time, if the Brown starters are playing, then I'm not gonna be concerned at all, because that more likely than not, like you mentioned, is Miles Gerd, is Zadarius Smith, it's a Shelby Hurst, whoever is gonna be out there, right? But again, another plus that I want to talk about, These guys are going up against Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Montez Sweat, Chase Young every single day. So they may be getting worked in camp. They may get worked in the preseason by the Browns or whatever. But they're going to be prepared for the regular season because they are not going to face a team harder than their own. Do you see what I'm trying to Pedro? And do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you have the offensive line. I think they are improved from last year. I mean, Nick Gates, that we had backup centers for most of last year. So the center position will be better with Larson / Gates if Gates does get hurt. Yeah, Larson there. Wiley will be, I think a little bit of an upgrade over what we had last year. Who knows with him? He was up and down a lot last year. And then Leno, I think he was dealing with an injury last year. So I think that he's going to be better. I just still don't feel amazing about it because, like, you look at your O-line and you're like, okay, there's not one guy there that's, like, elite or not even, like, above average. Like, I think Cosme has a chance. He is – I'm really excited about Cosme. He's the only guy, though. And also, with O-line, like, yeah, it would be great to have some elite guys, but I talked about this. With D-line, it's better to have one elite guy and, like, 3 mid guys versus – because if one guy gets there, then, the quarterback gets sacked. Versus offensive line, you can have 4 guys doing their job perfectly, but one guy who's stinking it up and gets beat, and then you're kind of screwed. So that's why the left guard position, like, hopefully they feel good about it, and, they feel good about either Sadiq or Chris Paul. I just still think we need to sign someone else there as a veteran, as a backup, like Dalton Risner. I think that's how you pronounce it. So we'll see. I think that more could still be done for the O-line.
Yeah. And let's now close out the show with talking about the Eric Bieniemy and comments about the Ron Rivera thing, whatever. How do you feel about it? Because I made a video about it, and I said I felt like he was overreacting. Or not him, but the fans were overreacting to his comments. Like, it was serious, but it wasn't that serious. You know what I'm saying? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I might have overreacted a little bit when I first made my video, but I still don't think Ron should have said what he said. Like, there was no reason to put it out there that guys went behind, or not behind Bieniemy, but I mean, kind of. They went over him and went to Rivera to talk about how they're concerned with Bieniemy instead of going to Bieniemy and talking about it. And he just puts that publicly out there. I don't think that's the right move, personally, to put that out there, because then we saw ESPN made a big deal out of it. NFL Network and Rich Eisen talked about it. Pat McAfee made a video on it. Oh, Commanders players, blah, blah, blah. Like I just keep seeing it on my YouTube recommended over and over again that the Commanders players are soft or stuff like that, or that, EB's coaching style isn't right. So, like, it just, okay, it happened, but it was not needed. This should not have happened. I don't think Rivera, I think he could have answered it differently and made it seem like things were fine, even if they weren't. Because that is that's unneeded attention and distraction that you're bringing to the team. So, yeah, is it the end of the world? No, and I don't think he was intending to do that. But I don't agree with what he said. Or, like, I don't think he should have said what he said.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I said, though. Like, I'm like, he didn't say anything bad. The way, like, people are acting as if he literally went on EB, said he's a bad offensive coordinator, and like, he was just bad. He literally said players came to me and I told them to go talk to EB about it. And okay, yes, he probably shouldn't have said it to the public because you know how the media is going to do. But for him to have to get up there and apologize and retract his words, like, he didn't even say nothing that bad. I feel like people overreact, like, honestly. And for the players, I get it because they're human at the end of the day. So I get it. At some point, you're going to get pushed to your limit because, again, we're human. But at the same time, we have been a losing franchise for our whole life, Pedro. Why are you complaining in a sense of because of the tempo or whatever for a guy that is coming here trying to change the culture on field? Ron Rivera has done a hell of a job changing it off the field. But on field, we've still been average. We brought in a guy that's a 2-time winning Super Bowl offensive coordinator coach. He is trying to run things how things should be ran, and you're complaining about it. You know, some guys are in it for different reasons. Whether you're in it for money, whether you're in it to win Super Bowl. Either way, whatever reason you're in it, the only way you're going to get those rewards is if you're good. So for players that aren't used to it, I get it. You're not used to it. But don't complain about it if this is what you really want to do. This is what you have to go through to have success. And I said it again. The same people that are complaining about Eric Bieniemy and the way he's running and practice and all that and stuff like that are going to be the same players being happy and thanking Eric Bieniemy if this season goes the way that we think it can.
Totally agree. And I don't know. I mean, for some of these guys, I get what they're going. Like, I think Bieniemy makes the running backs like run, so they run through the hole and like a normal run, and then afterwards they got to sprint 30 to 40 yards and finish it out. Like, if I'm running back and I have to do that every time, like, I'm gonna be mad. Not mad, but I'm just gonna be like, oh, like I really got to do this. It's 96 degrees out with like whatever humidity. But like to complain behind the coach's back to the head coach, I don't know. I don't like that move, but I don't know who did it, but it is what it is. I think they'll get used to it. And like you said, I think if everything works out, I think they'll look back at this moment and, you know, look at it like a crucial moment where these guys kind of understood each other a little bit better. And I think some of these guys will be like, man, what was I worrying about in the beginning of the season where I was complaining about EB's tough coaching style?
Exactly. So with that being said, I appreciate Pedro for taking time out of his day for joining me on the show today to discuss the Cleveland Browns and Washington Commanders preseason day game 1. Any final words you have for them, Pedro, about this game tomorrow, and let the people know where they can find you.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, just look. I mean, well, it doesn't really matter if we win or not. Like, I could really care less. It's just about the guys that we're really worrying about, and like Sam Howell and some of the young players. Emmanuel Forbes, if he plays, Quan Martin, Sam Howell, but Cole Turner, Sam Cosmi. That's what I was gonna say. Chris Paul, Sadiq Charles, like guys like that, the young guys. That's what really matters, how they play. And yeah, Sam Howell, though, that's the most important one. If you guys can find me, Pedro Schmith on YouTube. You know, been on Juan's channel a ton. So I mean, you guys probably already know me, but if not, go ahead and subscribe. Doing a bunch of stuff over there. Might be doing some giveaways soon as well. So stay tuned for that. We'll probably do a preseason recap video and might do a video today too. I appreciate you having me on, Juan.
Yep. As always, it's me and boy Juangotti. Hold on, let's see. Yep, that's Pedro Schmith. Oh, damn. All right. All right, Pedro, I appreciate you for joining me today, and I look forward to watching this game and seeing what the Washington Commanders can do. So with that being said, as always, me and boy Juangotti, like, comment, subscribe, hail to the Washington Commanders. We're on the road to 6,000 subscribers, so please hit that subscribe button again if you haven't already. Thank you so much. See you next time. I'm out. Peace.